Have you ever noticed how you can work so hard, yet still feel like you're spinning your wheels when it comes to money? I've been there too, wondering why things just don't add up. But here's something I discovered. There are some real treasures in the Bible that can shift how we handle our finances. And when we put these into practice, things can start looking different. So I started looking at what the Bible really said about money. Not just the parts we hear on Sundays, but the deeper wisdom. And honestly, I was amazed. There's a lot in there about how we should manage our finances. And it's not just money advice, it's about aligning with God's principles so we can experience true abundance. Today, I want to share 5 biblical financial secrets that can really help us break out of the cycle of struggling with money. First off, there's the principle of stewardship. Remember the parable of talents? The master gave 3 servants money to manage, and 2 of them made it grow. But the third, he buried his share out of fear, and it didn't go well for him. Here's how it goes. Matthew 25:14 through 30 says, "For it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and made 5 talents more. So also he who had 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money." Later on, the master comes back. He's pleased with the first 2 servants because they've been responsible. They've doubled what's been given to them. But the third servant, he buried his talent out of fear, and that didn't sit well with the master. The servant wasn't punished for having less. He was punished for not doing anything with what he had. That story really opened my eyes. It's not about how much we have, but what we do with what we've been given, whether it's a little or a lot. God's looking for us to be wise stewards of our finances. Are we making the most of what's in our hands, or are we just playing it safe, missing opportunities to grow what He's entrusted to us? Now, here's one that flipped my thinking upside down. Giving leads to increase. Proverbs 11:25 says, "The generous will prosper. Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed." Think about that for a second. The world teaches us to hold on to what we have. But God's word says that when we give, whether it's our time, our money, or our energy, we actually open ourselves up for blessing. It's not about losing, it's about sowing seeds that lead to greater harvest. I've seen this play out in my own life, and it's one of those things you just have to experience. Debt. That's a tough one, right? Proverbs 22:7 tells us, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender." And I get it. Sometimes debt feels unavoidable, especially when life hits hard. But the truth is, debt can become a trap that holds us back. I'm not saying all debt is evil, but if we're constantly living beyond our means, it keeps us in a cycle of financial stress. It's like we're working just to stay afloat instead of building wealth and freedom. If we can make it a priority to pay off what we owe and avoid taking on more debt, it's amazing how much peace and flexibility we can gain. Let's talk about diligence for a minute. Proverbs 13:4 says, "The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied." That's pretty straightforward, right? God rewards hard work. But it's not just about working ourselves into the ground. It's about being intentional, using our gifts and talents He has given us, putting in the effort, and seeking His wisdom for our careers and businesses. When we do that, it sets us up for success, not just financially, but in every area of life. And finally, this one is huge. Trust in God's provision. Matthew 6:33 tells us, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." Sometimes we get caught up in trying to figure out how to make ends meet, and we forget who our provider is. Yes, we have to be wise and we have to be diligent, but at the end of the day, it's God who provides. When we put him first, he takes care of the rest, and that's a promise we can stand on. Let's pause for a second. Out of these principles, which one hits home the most? Is it stewardship, giving, avoiding debt, diligence, or trusting in God's provision? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how these are resonating with you. And if they're helpful so far, go ahead and subscribe so we can keep exploring these truths together. So there you have it. 5 powerful financial secrets from the Bible that can transform how we handle our money. Stewardship, generosity, avoiding debt, diligence, and trust in God's provision. They aren't just tips. They're biblical truths that align us with God's design for abundance and freedom. When we apply these, we're setting ourselves up for more than just financial success. We're walking in the purpose and provision God has for us. Now that we've covered these powerful financial principles, if you're looking for more ways to apply God's wisdom to your daily life, especially in your work, there's something else I think you would find valuable. In our next video, we'll dive into how to run a business as a Christian. It's all about biblical principles from 1 Thessalonians to guide how we approach our work, lead by example, and honor God in everything we do. So if you want to discover how integrity and diligence can set our business apart and become a blessing to others, make sure to watch the next video, and I'll see you there.